今天讲讲 Reorg，我是麦克劳里，前亚马逊总监。从我这口音，大家也听出来我是哪儿人了哈。我在亚马逊10年，经历了5次重大的组织重组。我自己的 team 呢 ，Reorg 呢就更多了。这到年底了，离大家下一个 Reorg 也不远了，我就分几期讲讲。今天讲讲为什么大厂没事就 Reorg。组织重组有2个因素，外在因素，比如说经济周期啊、顾客的需求提高、整个行业的升级，再加上大厂在上升期都用堆人去解决一些阻碍它发展的问题。快速上升期一过，大家环顾四周，发现好几个 team 都在做类似的事情，那就开始重组了。这时候就有几种情况，我碰到最多的情况就是有一个 VP 或者 Director 转到另一个组，他下面的 scope 就会大概率分给其他的 VP 或者 Director， 然后这就触发了连锁反应。这种情况一般都发生在他的老板会给他一些提前的信号，让他转走。这种情况下，这个被鼓励转走的老板下面或者是有了一个已经可以独当一面的二把手，又或者呢是另一个要接手的 team 做的事儿跟这个 team 高度重合，这样再上面的领导层才有信心觉得他转走之后不会产生特别大的问题。然后我再讲讲 Reorg 的会上我们会讲什么。第一个问题就是 If this VP or director leaves, who in his or her team can step up and fill the role?第二个问题就是 For the person who is going to fill the hole, are they going to be able to keep the lights on immediately? 像我在 Reorg 的2次升职都是来自我原来的老板被我们的 VP 鼓励去找新的工作，因为我给我的 VP 足够的信心，即使我的老板走了，他觉得我也能把这摊子事儿玩得转。然后他走了之后呢，我就被划给了新的老板，也就得到了更大的 scope。我们如果之前准备好了，自然在 Reorg 的时候就会变成那个 step up 的人。另一种 Reorg 的情况就是有长时间的 planning 的 Reorg。像我自己有一次的 Reorg， 就是我跟另一个 Director 共同计划了快1年，最后我们的 work 跟我自己现在的 work 脱离，到了一个新的 work。这种情况基本跟上一种情况类似，不同的是你的老板不会走，但是你的同事可能会走，而且不光是你原来的同事，还有新去的 work 的同事也会走，因为两边肯定有不兼容的地方。这时候如果你之前准备的好，而且跟对了被组织信任的老板，你还是会得到更多 scope。像我这个长时间准备的 Reorg 里面，我下面1多半的 direct report 都得到了更多的 scope， 并且有比 Reorg 之前更多的人都得到了升职的机会。如果你想继续学习怎么 manage up， 或者开会怎么能显示自己的工作成果，可以了解一下我的 Maven 的课，课上可以跟北美大厂 director 实战演练 manage up 和怎么在工作上优雅的取得功劳，并且保护自己。有兴趣的私信就行。还有前一段我跟另一个亚马逊 director 一起做了一个关于 Reorg 的免费课，之后这一段就是我们2个 director 关于为什么大厂一直组织重组的理解，基本上说的也就是上面我说的几点。
Kick it off with a quick intro of myself. My name is Mike. I joined Amazon in 2015 as a warehouse frontline manager. In 2017, I joined the same org as Sam. We actually launched a team together as peers. And 2018, we had a reorg. I moved across the country. And 2020 is when I got promoted to senior manager, L7 in Amazon's ranking system. 2021, 22, we had another reorg, and I was promoted to the head of my organization called Central Operations. 23 was when I got promoted to LA director, and 24, 25 is when I decided I want to do something on my own terms, and I started doing the entrepreneurship. The right now social media that you know me from is mostly my passion. It has been my passion for the past few years of teaching people and doing mentorship. Somehow in the past few months, it blossomed into a side gig. So I appreciate everyone's support along the way. But with that being said, I will kick it to Sam to give a quick intro to the team.
All right. Hey, everybody. So first, I'm super excited to be a part of this today. Mike has spoken very highly of everyone he's been interacting with on this platform. And so, as Mike has mentioned, I've known him for quite a long time, since back in 2017, when we first started working together in central operations and Amazon. But just a little bit about me. So I was at Amazon for a little bit over a decade, and I led an organization called Sub Same Day for about 4 years, where I grew that organization 4 times in that 4 years. So a lot of reorgs within that organization, how we actually navigated it, and launched buildings to exceed over 67 in the network. But looking at just the timeline, I joined Amazon in 2015. In 2017, there was a reorg. I was promoted to manager. And then that's when I actually met Mike himself. I moved across the country with that reorg, was promoted to senior manager with that opportunity. And then I was asked in 2020 to go lead sub same day operations. And so we'll talk about that throughout the timeline too in the presentation, but how I navigated that. Went over to sub same day. There was another reorganization. The one thing that's blank in 2023 that we didn't put in was there was a reorg overall in 2023 in Amazon that did affect my team too. It didn't result in a promotion, but it resulted in some expanded scope for me of leading program and product teams. And then in 2024, I decided to leave Amazon and start my entrepreneurship journey, which I'll plug in at the end, but I'm leading an industrial design AI company. So excited to see where that next chapter takes me.
Yeah. And one thing I want to point out, and Sam is probably overly humble about this, is that Sam was not only a director. She had a director under, well, a bunch of directors under her who also had LAs reporting to them. So it was like 3 layers of nested director, and then she was leading that big org. So essentially anything that you bought from Amazon during that period, if it was delivered within a day, is from her organization, and she was ahead of that org.
Thanks, Mike. It was actually, if it was delivered in 5 hours or less, it was coming from one of my buildings, which is super exciting.
Even more impressive. Cool. Yeah. Thanks for clarification. I will jump into why reworks happen. There are a lot of factors in business world and in the overall economy, and there are 2 reasons why reworks happen. Number one is external factors. Your shareholders of the company, their expectation will change over time. It can be swinging from revenue growth to profit to cost, or to new pillars in nowadays world about AI. The customer demands can change. It's ever raising demand from a customer perspective. Economies can change. The company growth is never linear because of that. But company needs to do business. We need to hire people. We need to promote people. And these things won't stop because of the external factors. So that dovetails into the internal factors that a lot of current structures of how the company is doing business is moving too slow to accommodate the new goals that the company is embracing amongst the external factors. Particularly for big tech companies in the past decade or since early 2000, we had exponential growth almost in every single tech company. And as a result, we got top heavy. We had promoted a lot of people because of the growth, but somehow in some way, economy slowed down, the company growth slowed down. So we ended up being in a top heavy situation. And along the way, you also had duplicate work due to front-loaded growth. And when those factors happen, you have a top leaving. For example, like a senior VP or VP, them leaving will trigger a ripple effect. Usually what ends up happening is if VP Mike end up leaving the company because of retirement or like entrepreneurship, his scope is going to be spread or divided into other VPs, and we're going to do some reshuffling. And that trickled down to director level, and that further trickled down to senior manager level, and all the way down to individual contributors. So I put a graph on the right-hand side. Essentially, it's like external factors eventually feeding into the company growth, people growth, and people want to do something else. The current structure doesn't support the growth, and we end up having some shape or form of reworks.
A good example of this that I wanted to highlight was Amazon back in 2020. So back then, obviously, the economy shifted. We had a global pandemic that shut down the world, and ordering habits started to occur very rapidly to Amazon. So overnight, we grew volume by 300, 500%. At that time in 2020, and you could look this up, Dave Clark, who was leading global operations at the time, decided to make a decision to start reorging how Amazon looked in terms of operations to handle this volume. And he decided to launch more buildings. And so that was to keep up with customer demand, right? Now, in 2022, as the world started to reopen again and normalize, another reorg had to happen. So there was 2 reorgs within the matter of 2 years, just focusing on customer habits and customer demand. And so within that timeline, when 2022, the world started to reopen and that second reorg occurred, there was a lot of nested layers within Amazon. There was a lot of buildings that needed to be opened, decisions that needed to be made very rapidly in order to keep up with that customer demand. But in 2022, it was okay, how do we actually now structure it better? And how do we reduce the unnecessary layers and focus on cost? And so I wanted to highlight that key decision because that's something that is completely out of your control. And something that these CEOs or VPs or leaders of organizations are constantly looking at to say, how do we respond to customer demand and how do we actually predict what's going to happen next? And of course, in 2020, we didn't know what the forecast was going to be because we were never in this situation again. And then we never knew when we were going to get out of it. And I think the tech bubble right now is in a very unique and interesting situation, kind of like 2020, to where tech is changing every 3 months, right? There's this new AI tool that's rolling out. There's this new coding system that Claude has launched, whatever it is. And all of these leaders of companies are in a race to say, how do I move faster than the next competitor? How do I launch the new product? So tech is in a very interesting position right now because we don't know what it's going to look like in a year. And so I know the majority of people on the call today, it's going to affect you. And so this is such an important presentation because it's okay, how do I navigate that? And how do I make sure I can succeed with every single reorg that happens, especially as it affects tech?